Boxing Truth here. Let's talk a little bit about Billy Joe Saunders. Got his little homecoming press conference, stated his intentions of what perhaps his next move could be. And Danny Jacobs is not part of that equation. Danny Jacobs called out Billy Joe Saunders, but Saunders wants a significant amount of money to come over to the States to fight Danny Jacobs. And right now the numbers don't add up. The fight's not going to happen. The economics, Jacobs is not as big as his draw compared to David Lemieux in Canada. Jacobs won't be able to afford Billy Joe the requests that Saunders wants to come to New York to fight him. And I don't blame Saunders for not wanting to come to New York. He risked himself coming to Canada against David Lemieux. It was business though. Lemieux was able to pack the house in Canada where they fought. And in return, Billy Joe got a nice little payday to come over. But the same is not there for a Danny Jacobs fight, since Jacobs is still building his brand over there in Brooklyn. And Jacobs is going to want a certain amount of money to come over to the UK. So it's a no-go. The fight's not going to happen. That's another fight Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are unable to make. It's been a number of fights that have been unable to make. My UK followers, y'all tell me what's up. How come these two guys can never make fights without a mandatory in place? When was the last time these guys made a fight not involving a purse bid or a mandated bout? It's been an all common team. It's been a common theme between these two guys. They can't make fights together for whatever reason. And when you look at it, who's really at fault here? Is it Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren? It seems like Eddie Hearn has been blocking a lot of these fights. Burnett versus Tete. Eddie Hearn turned down that fight for Burnett. Says it wasn't enough money on the table to take the risk. Frank Buglioni, Anthony Yard couldn't get made. What other fights? There's another potential fight that it's going to be difficult to happen, especially if Tyson Fury signs with Frank Warren. Is that going to be another Mayweather-Pacquiao situation in the heavyweight division? I mean, those guys can't make that fucking fight, then fuck both of those guys. If they can't make that freaking fight. That's the biggest heavyweight fight in the world. The biggest fight in UK history. And if they can't come together to make that fight, then what the hell? But y'all let me know what y'all think. I mean, who's more to blame, Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren? It seems like Frank Warren is willing to make fights. He's even willing to send his fighters over to Eddie Hearn's network at Sky. But it seems like Eddie Hearn has just been the more reluctant one to do business with Frank Warren for whatever reason. Maybe you guys can fill me in on that one. Who you think is the blame here? Who you think is blocking the fights between these two promoters? With Billy Joe Saunders, Danny Jacobs, it's a pipe dream for right now. I have no idea who Billy Joe is going to fight. When you look at the WO rankings, there's really not much to offer for Billy Joe in terms of recognition, money, all that shit. He just fulfilled his mandatory obligation. So he can fight whoever he wants. He's in the voluntary stage. But there's really no attractive opponents. That, from what I see, Martin Murray's there. He's rated, but I think he's with Eddie Hearn, so I don't see that fight happening. Tommy Langford, who got knocked out by Kurtzitsai, he's rated number 13. He's a possible opponent since that's an in-house fight. He's also a Frank Warren promoted fighter. Alvarez and Golovkin are going to fight May 5th. That's pretty much a done deal. They're off the table, so Billy Joe is assed out when it comes to that fight. He has to wait, and he's not going to sit on his ass and do nothing. He's going to stay busy, try to build on his momentum after the best performance of his career. I've told you guys, everyone. I told you guys after the post fight, in my post fight of that fight, you're gonna get a lot of people on the bandwagon now. You got a lot of fanboys out there saying some outrageous things that Saunders can school Canelo. Get the fuck out of here. Off that one performance, y'all guys are convinced because he beat some plotting heavy bag who is nowhere near an elite fighter. But good job for Billy Joe. Thought he would win. Didn't think he'd be that dominant. But props for him for beating David Lemieux. He is a problem in the middleweight division because of his style. But chill out, you know. Let's see if Billy Joe can have another night like that. That was one performance. Alvarez and Golovkin had done it on a number of occasions. Golovkin hasn't done it recently, but he's had more than just one great performance in his career. That was Billy Joe's first great performance. Alvarez has plenty of great performances, so let's see if he can keep it on a consistent basis. Let's see if he can keep this hunger that he has after that wake-up call he had in the Akava fight, which is really the cause on why Billy Joe is much hungrier and is in love with boxing at the current moment. But the Caleb Truax fight makes sense for Billy Joe, since there's no attractive fights here at the current moment in the middleweight division when it comes to WBO rankings. He's not going to fight Jermall Charlo. Doesn't make sense. He's not going to fight Demetrius Andrade. Doesn't make sense unless Andrade wants to come over to the UK for not a great amount of money. So there's some issues when it comes to making some fights when it comes to Billy Joe, but the Caleb Truax fight is a good fight for him. Move up and wait for one fight, gain another strap, come back to the middleweight division in hopes of getting a unification with the winner of Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez. So it looks like Billy Joe is going to return in April. Stay busy, stay fit, and let's see if he can put on another masterclass performance. And let's see if this praise is warranted that perhaps he can beat Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.